We're here to protect you and the ones that you love. It's a good feeling to know that our efforts aren't going unnoticed.
It actually brought tears to my eyes to know that we have this support.
You're welcome. I must just say you're welcome. It's stressful, but we're not going anywhere.
Welcome to another edition of Bucknell Men's Golf Through the Decades. Tonight we have the decade of the 2000s. We've got some outstanding former Bucknell golfers joining head coach Mike and one of our current student athletes, Blake Wisdom. Blake is a sophomore from Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and we thank Blake for joining the call tonight. My name is Todd Newcomb, and I want to thank Geisinger as our sponsor for tonight's event. Geisinger has done a tremendous job throughout the pandemic, and as always, they do a great job day in and day out with our student athletes here at Bucknell, so thank you to Geisinger. I'm going to get right to it and introduce our alums, and then I'll turn it over to Coach Binney, and we're going to have some fun. So our first alum is from the class of 2006, Ben Pellicani. Ben was a four-year letter winner and was selected to the All-Patriot League team in 2005. He finished as the runner-up at the 2005 Patriot League Championship. He shot the lowest 18-hole score in school history with a 65 at that championship in 2005. He held the team's low scoring average in the spring of 2006. Our next guest from the class of 2007 is Charlie Waddell, four-year letter winner as well, and was a four-time All-Patriot League selection and a member of the Patriot League's 25th anniversary team. Charlie won the Patriot League Championship individual title in both 2005 and 2006, becoming the first individual in league history to win the event back-to-back years. In addition to his Patriot League titles, he won the Army Mule Kicker Classic in 2006 and the Lafayette Invitational in 2007. He shot the third lowest 18-hole score in school history with a 67 at both the 2005 Patriot League Championship and the 2006 Bucknell Invitational. He held the team's low scoring average in the fall of 2004 and 2006 and in the spring of 2004, 2005, and 2007. He owns the fourth best career scoring average in school history at 74.93. He won the Bison Club Award at the Athletic Department Senior Awards Dinner, and Charlie was inducted into the Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame in 2018. Our next guest.
This will be much quicker.
a brand new father from the class of 2007, Kyle Moran. He was a four-year letter winner. He was the top his top individual finish at the Patriot League Championships was 12th in 2006. He won the Bucknell Invitational in 2004, and he owns the 18th best career scoring average in school history at 77.16. Our next guest from the class of 2010 is Andrew Cohen. He was a four-year letter winner as well and was also a four-time All-Patriot League selection. Andrew was chosen as the Patriot League Rookie of the Year in 2006-2007. He won the Patriot League Championship individual title in 2009. In addition to the Patriot League title, he also won the Caves Valley Intercollegiate in 2009, the Bucknell Invitational in 2009, and the Lafayette Invitational in 2010. He shot the second lowest 18-hole score in school history with a 66 at the 2010 Lafayette Invitational. He held the team's low scoring average in the fall of 2008 and 2009 and the spring of both 2009 and 2010. Andrew owns the sixth best career scoring average in school history at 75.29, and he won the Lee S. Budrank Memorial Award at the Athletic Department Senior Awards Dinner. So, Coach, we've got an outstanding group of alums. It's going to be a good call. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Todd. I'm sure that Todd sent you the questions so you could study for them beforehand. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to combine them so that we're not spending time going through each one back to back to back. So I'm going to start it off and just ask every single one of you where life has taken you since you left Bucknell, and then kind of give us your, I'd say, tell us about your best memory or best experience here at Bucknell and why you decided to come to Bucknell over any other school. So your family, your life, where you are right now, and what made you come to Bucknell and your best experience here. If we could wrap all those three into one, I think we'll get some pretty good stories here. So I'm just going to go around the horn. Ben, you're in my upper right-hand corner, so I'm going to start with you. And if you would kick it off with those three, and if you need me to repeat the question, I will.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for doing this, guys. Obviously, we're kind of excited to see some guys we haven't seen in a while. But I live now in Nashville, Tennessee. Got married 7 years ago to a young lady from Texas. We were both working in Florida at the time. Since I left Bucknell, I tried playing for a short, brief stint, got my butt whooped, and then got into the golf industry after that. Been fortunate enough to work as a golf instructor now for about 13 years. Spent 5 years as an assistant college coach. That's what brought me to Nashville from Florida. We have two little girls. They were both born here in Tennessee. So I got a 3-year-old named Lily Kate, a 5-year-old named Kendall. And since getting out of college coaching a year and a half ago, I'm just full-time golf instructor now. I took over as a high school program here in town as well. That's associated a little bit with the college that I was coaching at. But I've been fortunate enough to kind of stay in the golf industry. I love being a golf instructor and coach now. And kind of what brought me to Bucknell was just the fact that someone gave me an opportunity to play. I still think I'm the latest ever offer that Coach Cotner had. I got offered in April of my senior year. So I think is good to say that I was the last member of that recruiting class to be extended an offer. But it's kind of narrowed down to a couple of Division III schools, and really wanted to play Division I sports, and Bucknell afforded me that opportunity. And probably my best memory is just, playing with the guys on a regular basis. I was always the one fighting for a spot. So I had to qualify for a lot of tournaments, and always, I didn't have the talent that a lot of the guys on our team did. So I think just having the opportunity to play with these guys, and I was fortunate enough to room with them for 3 of my 4 years. And I think those are kind of the memories that we all have. I think the van rides and, the qualifying rounds and those stories are always the ones that I think we carry on. And, I think, again, I was just fortunate that Bucknell wanted me to come play. And then obviously the resources that the school had with having a golf course on site. And then I was fortunate enough, it's always funny when you look back, but I think I was fortunate enough to be there with 2 of the better players that our program ever saw, in Abby and Charlie, kind of bracketed me. So I was always pushed and kind of saw where I wanted to get to. So being able to kind of see those 2 and how they prepared and how they played, I think always made me a better player too.
Fantastic. Charlie, you're right below Ben, so why don't you take it away?
Yeah, thanks. Great to be here and see everybody, see a lot of familiar faces and some faces you don't get to see a lot of. But I'm actually lucky enough to be sitting here from Sea Island, Georgia, where we've escaped down here for a little bit. So this is very nice. Currently living in Chicago, married, have 2 kids, a 2.5-year-old son named Clark, and a little 7-month-old girl named Piper. Used to live a lot closer to Kyle, who's down there, but we moved a little bit ago. But it's been great since Bucknell. Not unlike Ben, right out of school, gave the hand at the professional ranks, and kind of had a cup of coffee there, and decided to move on. And then spent a lot of time really not playing a lot of golf for a little bit, kind of between 2009, 2010, to when I got my amateur status back in 2013. Honestly, golf is still I always tell you, the third sort of biggest thing in my life, besides, family, friends, and then work. Still heavily involved in the game, still play a lot of competitive amateur golf, do a lot of work with the Western Golf Association, a lot of work with the First Tee. Grew up in a golf household, and are trying to create one of my own now, I suppose. Game has just been really special. All my best friends share the same love of the game that I do, Kyle included. And, you know, for Bucknell, for me, I mean, the most formative 4 years of life we'll ever have, without question. And, you know, looking back on it, you know, echoing Ben a little bit, just, you know, you kind of think about the tournaments and the competition, and that's really, really fun. And, you know, love that. But all the downtime and all sort of the BSing around the club and having the golf course right there and having the access to it, and just, you know, honestly, just like kind of screwing around like, you know, like junior golfers would, but you're playing Division I college golf is, you know, some of those times are the best. And yeah, I mean, how I ended up at Bucknell, my grandfather and great grandfather actually went to Bucknell. So I was very familiar with it. And, you know, not, again, dissimilar from Ben, just really wanted to play Division I college golf and sort of find that mesh, where that overlapped with great academics. And, you know, spent 4 years in Lewisburg, and, you know, still haven't had a better 4-year stretch since. So probably won't.
That's awesome. Oh, okay. Kyle, you're next in line. So take her away.
Cool. Yeah. I'm out here in Chicago as well. I've been here 5 years, moved out from the East Coast, where my roots are, but feel more like a Midwesterner now at this point. And
we welcome you, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And then you move, and although not too far. I've, as Todd alluded to, 3 kids under 2, which is, yeah, I'll let everyone pause and think about that for a second.
Impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah, the 22-month-old twins, Owen and Caroline, and 2-week-old baby Connor. So if you hear wheels on the bus in the background, I apologize, but it's dinner time and chaotic downstairs. But yeah, I've leaving Bucknell, and it's funny, Charlie recently sent me an article the local newspaper did when we were seniors in college, talking about kind of our career and what we wanted to do. And it was spot on. You know, Charlie said he wanted to kind of chase the on the course path, and I wanted to chase the business side of golf and sports. And that's what I've done. I started in sales for WFAN radio in New York. And 10 years now, I've been at a sports marketing agency, MKTG, where we help brands kind of leverage major sponsorships in professional sports. And I work on all golf accounts. So yeah, I get to talk golf every day from a work standpoint. So it's pretty good. And I watch golf on TV and tell my wife it's work. So it's a pretty good setup. And playing the game is still a big part of my life. As well, and I get to play with Charlie a few times throughout the year, which is
member
always
guest,
fun.
Founders Cup, baby.
Member guest, yeah. We rock the Bison gear proudly,
yeah.
You know, and just tell stories from the 4 years we're kind of referencing. So I'm lucky I ended up at Bucknell. You know, I kind of went to a small high school with a similar look and feel of Bucknell. I kind of got on campus and fell in love with it. 3 hours from home in Connecticut. And I wasn't given any promises by Coach. We had, you know, he was still creating the foundation of his tenure there. We had Ben and Tom with good freshman seasons. And then Charlie, Chaz Wagner, Ryan Hom, and Patrick Yingling already on board for our class. So there weren't many spots. So I didn't get any promises, but I just wanted a chance. And I loved Coach Kottner and loved the school. So I figured, you know, I would love to play. And if I don't play, I'll go join a fraternity and kind of love my college experience. And that was kind of my mindset. So I luckily enough was tied on the 72nd tee, 18th hole Bucknell Golf Club for the final spot, and I made birdie. And it's not hyperbole saying it changed my life, that one hole. You know, I'm on this call today, and it's some of the best friends of my life are from those 4 years. It gave me a bit of a chip. You know, I played well on the B team in the Bucknell Invitational, and infamous trip to St. Bonaventure a couple weeks later. I didn't have any team gear.
Talk about that one.
Dino and Charlie know this story well. I made the trip. I had to reintroduce myself to these guys getting in the van. And I played
you shot a goddamn 100 in the practice round.
The practice round was the worst round of my life. I swear to God, I didn't know how these things work. We were playing in a five-some. Yeah.
To borrow a phrase from Cotner, he didn't know whether the ball was pumped or stuffed. I mean,
yeah. I was a little overwhelmed. Luckily, I got it together. Great. Played well, and and I kept grinding, and just lived across the road. And to Charlie and Ben's point, we just hung out around each other, around the members, around the golf course, around Brian and Coach, and you just kind of absorb the passion for it, and it really impacted us, and we all fed off each other and our work ethic, and as these guys said, it was the best 4 years of my life, and to this day, I make time for the school and the university, and I still love it.
None of the three of you guys mentioned that you were pretty big supporters of the basketball program and some of the wildest fans had in Stoika Pavilion either.
Yeah, well, it is happy hour. So if we want to get into some of those stories, I mean, if we're talking stories, I mean, I don't know if Cohen drove us to Lafayette on a Tuesday night,
Well, I was there before them. I still went to Davis. So I can make the claim that I was the first one to sit on first row on the visitors bench side end zone. Though I think I was one of 7 people in the stands that year. We were not very good. Christmas Naughton had not joined the program yet. But yeah, no, Stoika was good. It was good times. Though I do remember the first part, we had like 3 games in Davis in late November, December before we moved over.
Yeah. Wasn't it mid-03 they made the move? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we opened up Stoika Pavilion against Lehigh, and they beat us pretty good.
Yeah. Well, not many losses since then.
No.
But to your point, Todd, I mean, that had a tremendous impact on our careers at the school too, just from a passion to the school standpoint. And we lucked out being there at a tremendous time. But to give some advice to Blake, like, we ingratiated ourselves with the wider Bucknell athletic program, and guys embraced us, which was nice to see. We had friends on the basketball team and the soccer team and other teams as well. And, we fed off each other, which I think had a big impact.
Fantastic. So we could jump into stories right about. I got to give Andrew his chance to catch us up to speed, and then we'll start taking tangents as much as you guys want.
I can listen to these guys storytell all day long.
just bring us up to date, Andrew, and then we'll jump right into it.
Sure. So, I came back to my roots here in Westchester County, New York. Spent a bit of time in Manhattan and Brooklyn for a while. So after graduating, not gonna lie, was a bit burnt out from golf. It was a lot. I'm sure many of you have felt that. Charlie mentioned he took some downtime there, but traveling every week, and it was just a lot. And I was ready to hang the sticks up for a little bit, and thought about going down to Florida. I had a lot of friends that you just meet playing tournaments, and from local area that got in their Jeep and 5 to a room down in Orlando and did the pro thing, but decided to give my shot at the business world, a la Kyle there. And, really haven't looked back. I've been at the same company for almost 10 years now. It's been great. And now, back in the burbs with wife and 2 kids, not quite as close as Kyle's got sport in there, but my daughter Sophie is 2.5, and I have a new son, Jack, who is 5 weeks old now. So can totally relate to the sleep deprivation there, buddy. I'm not going to lie. The guys that sold me on the program are on the Zoom. It's Kyle and Charlie. I did my overnight and crashed on their futon. And they must have said something good to Coach Cotner, because I got that offer. Unlike Ben, I actually had it before I even started my senior year of college, and he turns to me and he says, "Don't mess this up, Cohen." But it's the fact that it was Division I, huge sale, course on campus even bigger. We didn't have the practice facilities like you have now, Blake, but I know. Charlie's just
it's a goddamn joke is what it is. I mean, it's ridiculous.
We used
to
to
talk about time spent in Davis Gym, hanging net in the corner, and that's what we were doing.
Balls ricocheting off the wall.
That's the time spent in Davis Gym.
We used to have to trade golf lessons to the softball coach so we can take the softball hitting nets and use them to hit indoors in the winter. That's what we used to do.
No wonder all these scoring records are getting broke.
Yeah.
Right there.
I'm just saying.
We didn't have launch monitors.
I mean,
yeah, we had short game courses with.
Hey, Cohen. Kamo and I were talking about this the other day. You remember the old days when you'd have 6 guys standing on a range? There's no TrackMan. There's none of this stuff, and you'd just like grab a 3-wood out of some guy's bag that he wasn't using. And you'd hit 3 shots with it, and you'd be like, "Oh, this feels good," and you'd use it for a year. You'd use it for a year. There wasn't any testing. There wasn't any getting dialed in.
I used to
hit 3 shots. And if they went straight, you'd say, "All right, I can use this.
I can work with that."
You know how many times you snap hook a 3-wood on like the 18th tee, you go straight to the coach's office, you grab something that's lying around, and
No. This is what it is. It's something that Kelly couldn't sell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Negotiate.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's something that Kelly couldn't sell.
That's pretty
the best experience. I mean, it's exactly this. It's the banter. It's the downtime. These like one-off memories. I remember freshman year. I never forget this, Charlie. We were, I think we're at Saucon or a course we travel to, and we go to the pro shop. It's early. You put your arm around me. He's like, "Pay attention, Cohen." And Charlie just walks completely straight face to the head pro and goes, "What's the course record?" And he did that in every single pro shop he walked.
He's getting broken today.
It's safe, yeah. But it's that. I mean, it's the van rides, the bus rides, the flights, hanging out in the hotels at night when you're just exhausted, but you're hanging out with your best friends, even though you're going to literally be up at 5 a.m. the next day, lugging a bag around for 36 holes in 45-degree weather.
45-degree weather, yeah.
Yeah.
And you got the clubs drying out.
The 40% chance of snow, and you just spent the last week, hitting hosel rockets out in Tampa, trying to find the club face. It's a good feeling. But those are the golden moments that you don't forget. The great rounds, the birdies, the wins. It's only as good as the celebrations with the guys.
Exactly. So Blake, I'm going to turn it over to you. If you could kind of take those 2 questions that you've been studying diligently for and just combine them into an overall question for the guys, and ask your question and look for some wisdom.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys all for taking the time to come on this. Obviously, like as student athletes, we don't get to do this a lot, so it's a pretty cool experience to hear you guys' stories. A lot of stuff I can relate to. But anyways, what I would wanted to ask is, what advice would you either give me or any of my teammates about the college golf experience at Bucknell, and how I can add that to like networking and finding the right job after I graduate?
Andrew, why don't we start with you and go in reverse order, just like we did?
Yeah, probably a good idea considering I work for a really big job site. What I would say is everybody you come in contact with, especially at the university, alumni, they're all in your court. They all want to support you, and that's really your best means to getting where you want to go. And as a sophomore, this is when you need to start. What happens typically is people realize or figure out what they want to do, and it's a little late. They're starting it, around finals time of senior year, and you're a little behind the 8 ball there. You're a little stuck. Starting now, building relationships, got everyone on the Zoom call. Your coach, Todd Newcomb, is on the Zoom as well. You know, the donors, the alumni that you're in contact with tied to the program. Those are the individuals. If you can build these relationships and network now over the next couple of years, by the time you need to, you know, look for something or figure out what you want to do, you're not just a random kid asking, right? You're someone who they've built a rapport with. You're someone who they trust, who can give back. And so that would be my biggest advice in terms of that is starting early, just being friendly, and you know, if you can provide something of value, that's always going to be beneficial too.
Sweet. Kyle.
That was very formal, Andrew. That was very nice.
He's like 3 webinars on this topic this week. I don't know.
yeah. It's like you put your work hat on real quick. Yeah, it's interesting. I think I could provide some good perspective because I knew I wasn't good enough to turn pro, and that was never a consideration. So I had to think about what I wanted to do.
Certainly with that attitude.
Yeah, I mean, I was just happy to be there. That's what we discussed. But honestly, I think that in some ways helped me because I tried to develop a lot of relationships. You know, not really with job intent in mind. I just tried to kind of be myself and form good relationships. And ultimately, then when you need a favor down the line or a conversation, that relationship's already established and you're not asking for a cold favor. You're talking to someone that wants to help you. And that kind of was my reference to the basketball team, and the soccer team is also the club members. We became friends with the club members, and we had decades of separation in age, but we'd come in and they would want to hear how we did or talk about a match or banter with them about their matches. We hung around the pro shop. You know, Brian Kelly introduced me to some club reps and manufacturers that he worked with in the past because I wanted to get into the golf industry. So those types of things. I hosted a radio show at WVBU because I grew up listening to WFAN, and I just wanted to talk hoops. And honestly, our biggest listeners were inmates at the penitentiary. We got phone calls from them because they would listen to the show. It's like this music station, all of a sudden there's a 90-minute sports talk show, you know, at random hours. And we would have guys from the basketball team call in. It was fun. But having that on my resume, all of a sudden I ended up working at WFAN a couple years later on the business side, and it helped me have a conversation about radio, even though I didn't know how to sell radio, but I was in sports selling radio in the biggest market. And everyone's always said, you know, sales is a great place to start. You know, my attitude was kind of, I wanted to be on the business side, but I majored in political science and history because I found a few professors I really liked and gravitated to, and it made me happy. And obviously I'm not using political science and history in sports marketing too much, but it allowed me to enjoy my Bucknell experience, the liberal arts experience, but also formulate some pretty cool experiences through golf, through the radio station, through community, through relationships that gave me enough of a story and a really strong case to enter the real world, so to speak. So a little unique path for sure, but that's kind of how I went about it, not knowing it at the time, but looking back, you realize kind of what you were doing and how you were carrying yourself benefited you in the long run.
Charlie, back to you.
Yeah, I would say 2 things. I know this is a little kind of off topic, but I fundamentally believe that playing college golf is the greatest job training you could ever have, because it's unlike any other sport, right? Where you are on a team, but you're competing as an individual. right? So you are trying to do as well as you can to further your own score, your own progress, your own ranking, whatever it might be, but you're still tied to the overall success of the team. That is like mirrored over to how it works in the real world, where you are part of an organization, right? And you might be gunning for a promotion, but you're part of a bigger group that essentially is, you know, being judged on their merits, their success, their output. And understanding how that works and understanding it via playing college golf. I mean, you know, you don't have to look past the 4 years that we were at Bucknell to see some of the inter-squad battles to make a roster, to go to the, I mean, Kyle will tell his story, but to go to the NCAAs, right? And the fact that you are literally teammates, but you are competing against one another. That's how the real world works, right? That is, you know, it's a meritocracy out there. And I give Jim Cotner all the credit in the world, and, you know, to this day, because he created a meritocracy on our team. Nobody ever could complain that they were slighted for playing time, because he had his system. And if he couldn't figure it out, he said, all right, you guys go figure it out. You go play 18 holes, go play whatever you want. Come back, tell me who wins, and whoever wins is going, and whoever loses is going to go, you know, get drunk this weekend. And that was how he set it up. And that's how the real world works. The second thing I would say is that being at Bucknell, how you are now as a sophomore, and everybody at Bucknell, you know, the world is a really big place, but it's not for you. It is actually very, very, very small. Okay. And your network is going to be everything. And you have access to anybody that you would want to talk to because you have the line item of Bucknell University on your resume. Okay. And so everybody talks about how big a place this is. It's not that big for someone at Bucknell. It's actually very, very small. And that is going to continue to, I literally ran into a guy that, you know, and his wife, class above us at Bucknell, in the locker room at Ocean Forest today. Like, it is a small group. And it is a group that is going to pay off in spades, you know, job-wise, career progression, et cetera.
Ben, last but not least.
Yeah. I'm gonna continue on some of the stuff that Charlie said. I think he's absolutely right by what you learn from some of those lonely, I guess maybe you guys don't anymore because you have this nice facility, but I used to have the lonely Mondays at the top of the parking lot where you'd hit 50 and 75 yard shots and shag your own balls.
Yeah, where they sodded over gravel, literally. That's what it was. You would hit a shot and like stones would come up.
Well, but I got very good at hitting 50-yard and 75-yard wedges, which I'm still to this day, I'm not even sure if they were 50 and 75. It's just
they were just buckets out on the hill.
Whatever that shot was.
We didn't have rangefinders either back then.
You paced it off, and I think it was 50-ish yards.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of truth in that, right? Like, I think the balance that you learn in school on how to manage your work ethic with, you know, your friends and with taking care of your schoolwork. And I think learning some of those balance things that, you know, probably some of us have done better at certain periods of our life than others, but, you know, we started learning those skills at Bucknell. And I think being able to kind of reflect back on that, and I think is really, really important. I don't think I can echo enough what these guys said about the networking thing. And some of it's just, you know, I feel very fortunate to have alumni who have gone in front of me, who have created such a respect level through other people. You know, I'm obviously down here in the South now, and so it's a little bit different. But Bucknell still carries some weight. And I think that's more out of what has come before us, and carrying that on, I think, is really, really important. And so I think kind of building that group of friends that you can count on, but also leveraging the alumni, like everyone said. I don't think you can do it enough. Even if you're not going to kind of hang around the Northeast, I think even as you travel out, I think the the country as a whole sees Bucknell, and it was fortunate that we had productive sports programs so people knew who we were. But I think the academics and what they expect from someone who went to Bucknell, and then being able to carry that on, and then just the random people you run into who just, oh, you went to Bucknell, I went there, like Charlie said, like you just run into people, and they tend to be people of influence and people who have, make decisions. And so, that common ground is always something that you can leverage, because when there's 100 resumes in front of these guys, there's a reason why the Bucknell ones get moved to the top. So, and a lot of that is because the people who are making those decisions either respect it or we're from there. So,
Blake, do you have anything that you'd like to add? I mean, I know you asked your two mandatory questions, but is there something else that you have on your mind that you wanted to throw out to these guys? Do me a favor, give them an idea of what you want to do with yourself in the next couple of years and then post graduation.
Yeah. So the next few years, the plan is obviously to enjoy my last few years at Bucknell. Obviously, it's been a great year and a half so far that we've been there, even though it's been under these circumstances. But I mean, I guess my plan is that in the summer, I mean, I've caddied and haven't really done like much job wise, but having a place down in Florida now and stuff has been helpful for my golf game for sure. So I think the plan is to just keep grinding and try to give golf a shot after school. And if that doesn't work out, obviously then we'll change paths, but I think that's going to be my plan for right now. But obviously it's like great to hear what you guys have to say about going the business route, because it's definitely helpful to know that now. So
one of the things that I try to do is to foster a competitive atmosphere on the team, not only within the squad that's there, but with all of you guys, because you guys have created that legacy. And we saw it last night from the 60s. It's still there. And the guys on the team, they all know not exactly what your scoring average is, but they know where you are in the whole legacy of Bucknell golf. And I put it out there intentionally to challenge them to get better. Blake's had a tough time over the last spring and fall, missing out on the seasons, but these guys are resilient. They're going to bounce back, and hopefully we'll be competing for a conference championship in April. And if Blake gives pro golf an opportunity after he graduates, and he does or doesn't make it, it won't be because of his work ethic. This kid works harder than anybody I've had previously and now. He is here every single day at the facility when we're at school. So it won't be because of his lack of desire or his work ethic, because the kid works hard. So he's going to be fun to watch over the next year and a half. I'll throw out one more of the questions that Todd gave us. It's fun because it fosters some really cool discussions. And I'm just going to ask you, which teammate that you admired the most throughout your career and why? It could be for any various reasons. So Ben, we'll kick it off with you and go back in that reverse order.
Yeah. So, obviously I was part of a pretty good group of players, though I was not a headliner at any point during that era. I do like how Todd gave, I love how Todd gave the low round in school history, yet I had to play off to make that squad. And 2 years prior, I shot 90 at conference. So let's put it all in perspective. I think I hold both ends of that record. But no, I think it's I think when you're competitive, you don't understand how good you had it until you left. And obviously Charlie was a great player, probably one that Bucknell shouldn't have had. And that's probably why we had the opportunities we did to make the postseason for the first time in a long time. And so, without Charlie's ability to our program as a whole, I don't think we all would not have, boats, was it the all boats rise with the tide, and Charlie definitely set a new watermark for us to all reach. And Abby was always a good friend of mine. He ended up being in my wedding. And kind of, I was able to help him a little bit while he continued to pursue golf after school as well. And so, I mean, those two guys obviously were the two that I looked up to. Charlie just obviously set a benchmark for all of us, for us to strive for. And then I still respect how Abby went about how he did stuff. He worked hard, went about the right way, cared for people in the process, which is not always easy to do. And so those two guys were always the two that I was looking at. And, I will say this though, like when you ask a question like that, like who did you kind of look up to when you were there? I mean, I think we all had, different people filled different roles for us at different points of our career, be it someone to compete against, or if it was someone who put their arm around you when you need to be picked up. And, I look back now and just think about how many times I got picked up by multiple people in the program. And if it wasn't for them, I'm not really sure how I would have handled some hard situations. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that could have kind of found that list, but, from a playing wise, obviously Charlie pushed all of us, and his accolades show all that. And then I still respect Abby to this day about how he carries himself and handles how he goes about life. So, I mean, those two for me, for sure.
All right. Charlie.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a hard question, right? It's like, who's your favorite parent or something like that. But, and everybody brought something different to the table. A couple just kind of, things that hit on, like our team like ranged far and wide. Like Ben was the hardest worker. Like Ben would grind, right? He would just go out there and he'd beat balls, or he'd hit 5-footers, or like he would just do whatever he needed to do to put the work in to get better, right? And then you had like Tom Lane, who like still to this day, without question, has PGA Tour talent. Like no question about it. Like he has the physical tools to be a PGA Tour player, right? And it wasn't really that he didn't work hard enough, but it just never really came together. But like I love the way like Tom Lane hit his long irons, right? So I'd be like, all right, think about like how Tommy hits his long irons. But there is a guy that I like really, really admired. He was a year younger. He was from Japan. His name was Keita Aoki. Okay. And you guys might not, Coach and Blake, you guys have probably never heard of Keita. Probably don't know who he is. But I respected Keita because, I mean, this was a guy that like literally came from Japan, okay, to Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, okay? And this guy, unbelievable ball striker, like just, I mean, could ball strike the hell out of any golf course, right? And he went about his business. He knew what he was good at. He knew he was a terrible putter. He like kind of tried to get better at it, but like didn't really try that hard.
That long putter, man. That long putter.
He was such a bad putter.
Yeah, he was long putter. He was belly putter. He would like literally do anything to get it in the hole, like conventional, unconventional. But I just, from a person standpoint, I just thought like, I just thought Keita was such a cool guy. And there were so many times where, I mean, there were just such marked cultural differences that he was dealing with, where it really just put the whole golf thing in perspective. And he honestly was just a great, fun guy, really fun to hang out with off the golf course. And I mean, I got like my best friend in the world, Kyle, on the call. So obviously I admire him. And I mean, Kyle, like, Kyle's a guy who literally, as he said, I mean, he was, 3 shots away from not being on this call, right? Back in the fall of 2003. And for a guy like that to come and, grind his butt off for 4 years and, win a tournament, it's pretty outstanding. But you know, you go and just everybody brings a little bit something different to the table.
You still keep in touch with Cato?
I mean, a little bit, not really. I would say he's back in Japan now.
Yeah.
But you know, he just had a kid, and you know, we kind of do the whole social media catch up thing. But he won his club championship a year ago. I saw that. Yeah, I just always really like Cato. Great guy.
Cato was fantastic. My favorite Cato story is Charlie referenced. You know, he came over. He had never really spent much time in America. He had a brother in New York, but he really wanted to get a driver's license, and he was very excited about it. And he went and got it, and was renting a car.
Don't.
Come on, I gotta hear it, man.
He got a car, leased a car, and he got in an accident pulling out of the lot.
Pulling off the dealership. Literally
pulling out of the dealership. He got in an accident.
The car had 0 miles on it. 0 miles.
He literally got in an accident, making the turn out of the lot. And he got back, and he felt so bad. Coach didn't help the situation because he thought it was the funniest thing in the world. But I mean, Cato didn't have a mean bone in his body, and he was a tremendous teammate. And that's a great because we don't stay that closely in touch with him. It's easy to forget, but he was a tremendous Bucknell golfer and a great addition to the program, and really impacted it. And Stu, Cohen, and Cohen's class really kept it going, kept the momentum going.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys gave us the taste of winning as freshmen. That was the thing. You know, we won PLs at Bucknell in my freshman year with Charlie as the senior. And like, once you get that taste, you got to get back there. And that stayed with, you know, the four of us in my year the whole way through. And then, you know, as you guys mentioned, like coming as a freshman, like, you know, Charlie was the guy. I'm not going to lie about that. You know, everyone wanted to kick his butt and beat his records. Few did, seriously. But, you know, even from there, you take things, you look up to other people. I mean, just from my year alone, no one was going to work harder than Brian Bartow. I mean, unbelievable ball striker. And he could beat 15 buckets of balls all day, and my back would be shot after like one or two, but he's just going to keep working. Jeff Pike on our team, I mean, if there was a spot to make a tournament, he was going to will that ball into the hole any which way he could. No one was going to literally. He put more work over a 12-footer for par than I would the entire round of golf.
We know the ball would be curving right to left to get in the hole. The ball would be moving
100%. Right to you know, and then, I mean, listen, my sophomore year, Kata and Stu and the guys, you know, they went to Jerry Schreck, the athletic fitness coach, who had never heard of the golf program at that point.
Thought we were the crew team.
That's
True
right.
Story. True story.
And says, and they go to him and say, we're going to change it up. And so I remember they would bust my door down at 5:30 in the morning because we're running to the gym because we're doing 5:30 a.m. workouts alongside the soccer team. And that was coming from a kid who was pretty chunky back then. And they were the reason I lost like 30 pounds my sophomore year because they got my ass in the gym. But that, no, seriously, like transformed my golf game the next 2 years because I could actually make it through 36 holes of golf. I don't know if you guys are still doing the 2 rounds in a day thing, but that makes it
probably not. Soft. They're soft nowadays.
We got a great Jerry Streck story too.
Unbelievable.
Streck's still here, so let's hear it, man. I need.
Cohen makes a great point because we were just starting to get into the whole golf fitness thing, and we wanted to try and commit it, and that was when the whole new facility was open. So we were in the varsity weight room, and he honestly thought we were the crew team. And it took a few reminders. No, we're the golf team. But he came in with a big idea after winter break. He was very excited about the big idea that he was going to create a very heavy weighted club and we were gonna swing it.
It's like groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Like golf channel special.
Yeah, we had to tell him that's probably not great for the back to be doing that too much. But in fairness to him, I can't remember his assistant at the time, who was also very involved, but they loved it. They loved seeing us in the gym and at least committing to it. And then Andrew and team kept it going as well. But that was a big part. But the last guy I'll mention, and then I'll turn it over. But I think Coach Codner deserves a lot of credit.
Yes.
Because I think if you pinpoint one person to look up to, I think certainly I did. And I know a lot of the other guys did, but he fostered a tremendous culture within the team, and where he let us take the reins, and we really fed off one another, where we were best friends, but also wanted to kind of beat each other. And that, all of a sudden you saw the results without really seeing it every day. We all worked hard. We all lifted each other up, but Coach, you didn't want to let that guy down. Because you felt so close to him, and he's still kind of a mentor to this day. And we still laugh and joke. He was at our weddings, and he really, was there a long time, a stalwart in the community, and he kind of that passive aggressive, you didn't want to let him down, kind of that parently type of figure. So I just wanted to certainly touch on that before.
And he wanted to win. Like
he wanted
that's
to
all
win.
he wanted to do. All he cared about doing was winning. That's literally all he ever wanted to do. And he said, it's okay to win. We don't, it's nice to play, but we should be winning.
Yeah.
And that was really important.
Yeah. That was the expectation.
Yeah.
You roll in the Patriot Leagues and you're like, this is ours to win, guys.
Yes.
Yep, I would agree. When I came here for my visit, if you will, and Tim Pavlechko brought me around and showed me the golf facility, I'm like, there's no reason why we shouldn't be a top-notch team in the Patriot League and regionally. To be quite honest, we don't have any excuses. So that's been my thrust, and I can't wait to get back to the winner's circle at the Patriot Leagues, and the guys on this team certainly can do it. The competitiveness of the league has definitely gotten better, but that's only making us better as well. So that's the annual goal every time these guys show up in August, is looking for that last weekend in April where we can go out there and compete for that crown. And I won't be satisfied until we hoist another one, multiple trophies. And Blake and the guys that are on the team right now are part and parcel of that. And that's all we think about. So. Gents, it's been awesome listening to your stories. I wish we could do this more often. We should do this more often, either formally or informally. But I'll turn it back over to Todd Newcomb at this time, and he'll kind of wrap things up. And again, thank you for being on the call, and go Bison.
Thanks, Coach. And first, I want to direct my comments to Blake. Blake, I want to thank you for being on tonight. We made it through that fall semester, and now we turn it to the spring, and you guys are going to get an opportunity to get out there and compete. We're really looking forward to that. I know as much as you are, and I know the alums will be pulling for you guys at Patriots when you go down to Naval Academy and whip up on those midshipmen on their home course. We're all looking forward to that. So good luck to you. And guys, I knew this call was going to be fun. I just knowing the personalities on the call and what you guys have all done, both as student athletes while you were here at Bucknell and since you left, and how successful you've been. And I really, want to give you some credit and some props. I joked around talking about how you supported other teams, but that to me is so crucial when you have a school like Bucknell where academics plays a large role, and it's really hard to get students sometimes to come out and support the athletes. If the other teams don't support the athletes, it makes it that much more difficult. So what you guys did, you really, you put a standard in play that I wish was still happening today. It's a little different. Unfortunately, it's not the same, but the students that are at events are athletes, typically supporting one another. So thanks guys for doing that. I appreciate that. And thank you for what you've done for the program since you graduated as well. The Bucknell golf program and any of our athletic programs for that matter can't be as successful as they are without the support we get from our alumni. So I really appreciate that on a personal level. So thank you for that. And then for those of you that chose to tune in tonight at home and watch, thanks for doing that, and go Bison.